Gourmet to the stars. The second bit. I step out into the main settlement on Tanegi 36 and discover Club Enal. Character, Lory Gato. Tanegi 36 was in the main confined to one settlement. Not large as settlements go, not even a small city. I sometimes longed to feel the wind in my hair and rain on my face. Not here. The harsh wind would quickly desiccate unprotected flesh, not to mention radiation. A permeable atmospheric shield protected the inhabitants from the worst, but the place was pretty far from a self-regulating atmosphere. Biosphere. I walked between strange Tanegi architecture, buildings that were in fashion when our race was still bashing each other's heads in with clubs. The road looked like crazy paved marble, wide enough for 2, maybe 3 gyro bikes to ride abreast. On either side, thin clover-shaped leaves pushed through thin soil. Part of the equation that kept this, the main settlement, habitable. There was one human outpost on the planet called, enterprisingly, Outpost 1. It lived in standard flat-pack condos, in safe but ultimately sterile comfort, behind toughened plexihar. Plexihar was transparent protective material that protected outpost and sheathed walkways from the rigours of low pressures environments and even the exhausts of spaceships. Most races used plexihar. Pretty much everything in this sector of space was standardised on Penong technology. Why? Well, where else were space drives, semi-permeable force fields and whatnot going to come from? Why reinvent the wheel? Of course, Penong product didn't come cheap. Never cheap. But it was affordable and standard. However, most outposts on this planet were Tanegi and so lived behind cattle. Cattle was non-standard. Self-starter racers, like the Tanegi, had their own technologies. Few found interest in offbeat, quirky methods of doing things when there were already well-established answers. And anyway, self-starter racers didn't share. Self-starter? Racers who hadn't been given a helping hand by the Penong. Outpost 1 was the first human-only setup on this place. As I said, the Tanegi buildings were styled to a fashion thousands of years old. They'd been here a long time. I walked past a group, scurrying home. Could I call them natives? Hardly. They were as native as I. So as far as I knew, there were few humans here, which meant that they were most probably Tanegi. I didn't try to stare. Apart from being well protected from the cold, they could have been in any human city. Little marked them as different. The sky was a pale grey sheen. A chill breeze sought out the gaps in my thin clothes, legacy from Core F6. From long experience, I knew how seed worked. Get to your destination and find they've sent you to the wrong one. Or worse, change their mind. Their expenses only let you claim for clothes required and used on planet. Besides, wait until planetfall before buying, buy local, and you have an excuse to chat. Offer a friendly ear and you never knew what you could pick up. I ignored the temptation to turn back. My warm guest house room wasn't going anywhere. I was. Tanegi buildings had an otherworldly feel. Each, though well formed, suggested a hidden shape, one that lay in a dimension yet to be discovered. Intriguing, but somehow tainted and unpleasant. Some sported flowing tresses of mottled purple-green. As I walked on, it soon became apparent that these were some kind of grass-bladed vegetation. Another part of the equation to maintain an equable atmosphere, or purely aesthetic. Without constant intervention, Tanegi 36 would gradually sink back until it reached a state in which it was virtually denuded of atmosphere. Many planets lay on the edge of survivability. Places like that held a promise, one of entirely new cocktails which might beguile the palates of the overpopulated cities of Earth, and empty their pockets, of course. Star hopping was oh so hard. I powered along, my knowledge of local geography helped by knowledge that spaceport settlements conform to certain rules. Regardless of overbuilding from expansion and consequential clutter, the core layout conformed to a basic design. Follow this and you will find what you want. Right? Wrong. Civic buildings were in place, but I saw no sign of what would be clubs and bars. Of course they would look different, this being a Tanegi world, but unless I was missing something obvious, there was nothing. Not even a coffee shop. Not that I expected them to drink that. I'd been hoofing it for 20 minutes when some distance away from my route I spotted a flat pack building, outside of which was a low-key sign. I walked closer. It read, Club Enal. Last-minute changes to plan rarely work well, yet my first sight of Club Enal was a manna from the gods. It meant I didn't go back to my room, tail between my legs, or even worse, hire yesterday's bot to return me. I walked off my beaten track to my new destination. It had the features common to air-safe buildings. Your atmosphere, your way. A promise proudly pronounced by stolid, unassuming literature. Fully modular build, decompression-capable internal partitions, strengthened recessed triple-seal windows, and the inevitable airlock access. This was street level, but thankfully the modular lock wasn't in place. Shadows were beginning to lengthen. I studied the door, ready to pace the final few yards and mount the step. It was featureless and didn't look inviting, and could do with a bit of brightening up. I steeled myself, ready to knock and enter. As my hand approached, a small hologram had played, little more than a letterbox in size. It hovered in front of the door at head height. Wading through the trimmings of softly glowing words, it amounted to a message. Greetings, Earthman. Club Enal is temporarily discontinued. Use the contact code at the end of this message to access transcripts of past activities. It may be used through the normal channels. I mentally noted the code before it faded. A host of thoughts rolled through my mind. Had the club broken local ordinances? Was the message monitored? Was it suitable for my sampling anyway? Was the building still open? Most of all, why?